Hey everybody, and welcome to English 101 with David Hancock. I am David Hancock, and in today's episode of Sentenced, we're going to talk about the optional slot. It is not that. Get your mind out of the gutter. The optional slot, which you can see the P there, was almost optional when I wrote that. The optional slot is a part of a sentence which is a place where you insert words to make the sentence more interesting, although really it's not required that they be there. Used well, the optional slot can help to make a sentence more humorous, more colorful, more interesting to read, more informative, more descriptive, anything. If we didn't have the optional slot, then every sentence would be exactly the same and very boring. Subject, verb, predicate, nothing else. All should be the same. 5 words, 3 words, whatever it is, always the same, very boring. So the optional slot basically is adding color and other things that make it more enjoyable to read what we write, and more enjoyable to write them as well. To understand the optional slot, first let's go back to the really basics and looking at what is a sentence, and then we're going to build that sentence into something that uses the optional slot. So this is a very basic sentence, and I have kerned it terribly on purpose for use in a minute. Bob kissed Sally. Subject, verb, predicate. Bob is the subject, kissed is the verb. Sally received the kiss, she is the predicate. So this is our very basic, very boring sentence. The optional slot, well, you can probably see where 2 of the optional slots in this sentence are. There are 2 others for a total of 4. An optional slot is an available space to put additional words around any other part of speech. Right? So we have 3 parts of speech here, subject, verb, predicate, which means we have other places to put words. If this sentence was a longer, more complex one that had subject, verb, object, direct object, subject, complement, things like that, then between each of those different sections, there's an optional slot where we can put more words and more information and more humor and color and things like that. So let's see how this will work. After wetting his lips, comma, Bob kissed Sally. One thing about the optional slot is that any time you're going to put something into it, you need to separate it with commas. So this is going in front of Bob. We only need 1 comma there because it's separating the optional slot content from the subject. After wetting his lips, Bob, palms clammy with nervousness, kissed Sally. Already we have a significantly better sentence because instead of just Bob kissed Sally, very boring, very statement of fact, we now have Bob. You can see in your mind, this is a concrete image. He has wetted his lips, and you can feel in your mind, this is a concrete image, something you can imagine. Palms that are just clammy with nerves, just not just clammy, but why they're clammy, because he's nervous. He's scared about kissing Sally. After wetting his lips, Bob, palms clammy with nervousness, kissed, his mouth open a bit too much, Sally. And we know now why it is his palms were sweaty with nervousness. He clearly doesn't have a whole lot of experience kissing girls, and because of that, his mouth is open just a little bit too much. After wetting his lips, Bob, palms clammy with nervousness, kissed, his mouth open a bit too much, Sally on the cheek. Again, comma before on the cheek, between here and here and here and here. And again, also just confirming what we know, that this is not something he has a whole lot of experience in because he's planted the kiss on her cheek, not on her lips or something like that. So now we know why it is he's nervous, because he doesn't have a whole lot of experience in this. Maybe this is Bob's first kiss. He doesn't really know how to do it. So what went from being a very boring sentence, Bob kissed Sally, whoa, now becomes something that paints a very concrete picture of the action with detail and context that we can infer of the background of the sentence from the added words in it. And it becomes a little bit cumbersome, but in this sentence, I'm going to argue that's a-okay because he's nervous. This is something that's going to feel like it's taking a very long time for him. He's working through it, working up the nerves to go over and kiss this girl. So after wetting his lips, Bob, palms clammy with nervousness, kissed, his mouth open a bit too much, Sally on the cheek. So you can see here how we have used 4 optional slots in this sentence to create a significantly more informative, informational, colorful, and interesting sentence. And we have used those optional slots strategically to create pauses and a cadence within the sentence that brings you as the reader along with Bob as this thing which takes a long time, at least in his perception. And now it takes a long time for us too. And there's these starts and stops. So we're not just adding more information, we are, but we're adding pauses and spaces and breaks. And because of that, we have used the structure of this sentence to bring the reader along with the characters as they experience this. Let's see what else we could do here. Because this isn't all, we could, now we have another space here. This could be another optional slot. Literally, this could go on for infinity, because now we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I forgot this one in front of it, 8 optional slots instead of 4. So by adding more content, we now have more optional slots, but we're not actually gonna build out, we're not gonna add 8 more parts to this sentence. But what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna show you the way that we can use the content of these optional slots to change the sentence and what it is we're trying to convey as writers, conveying information to readers. So I'm going to erase one of these, I'm going to rewrite it, and let's see how it changes. Actually, I'm going to leave it up here. I'm going to rewrite the second one underneath it, and let's see how that changes the sentence. So let's ignore this one right here and read this instead. After wetting his lips, Bob, sitting on the edge of her twin bed, kissed, his mouth open a bit too much, Sally on the cheek. We now have an entirely different sentence, and we've only changed one part of it. This is the power of the optional slot. You can add a whole lot. You can create entirely different sentences and convey entirely different things. We know now that he is sitting on the edge of Sally's twin bed. And a twin bed conveys the type of bed that would be had by people who are young. We're talking about 2 young people who are experiencing their first kiss in a very tender and private moment. That is the power here. This could have taken a completely different turn. This could have been Bob kissed Sally in a back alley. Okay, completely different sentence. The point of this exercise is to say what we hang between the mandatory parts of a sentence is what gives the sentence life and what brings it to a point where it becomes enjoyable for the readers to read and does more than just convey the basic amount of information. So whatever you choose to put in an optional slot is just fine. It's how you use it to convey this nebulous blob of bright light in your brain and convert that into words that explain to other people what this thought means in a way that other people can understand. So here's what you get to do in the comments section of this video. I'm going to write a 3-sentence word up here. What you're going to do is use the optional slot to create your own sentence. So let's see what that's going to look like. I lied. It's actually a 4-word sentence. I apologize for that. But it's basically the same structure as Bob kissed Sally. The beach is sunny. So I've broken this out for you so you can easily see where the optional slots are. And just remember, when you rewrite this sentence, there's a comma that goes between each of the things you're going to add and the mandatory slots. So if you've made it this far in the video, rewrite this sentence, the beach is sunny, in the comments, and use as many of the optional slots as you would like to add additional information and make it a longer and more interesting sentence. And I'll give you feedback on how you've done and how well you've used it. I won't tell you it's a good or bad sentence. That's not my job. My job here with these videos is to help you understand the concepts. So I'll guide you through how well you have used the optional slots. So thank you very much for making it this far. And just remember, as long as you take care of the sentence, The sentence will take care of you.